What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Bulls Latest. Your host, Matt Johnson, here as we kick off yet another week in the NBA offseason here in the final stretch of the month of August, one step closer to the NBA regular season. I want to throw at you guys to start this week in today's show with a mock trade involving the Los Angeles Lakers here. When you look at the Bulls, they appear to be looking to cut ties with Nikola Vucevic and the All-Star big man at some point, and the Lakers seem like ideal suitors. I'll get to that here in a second as to why. The Bulls, however, are a very puzzling franchise to understand right now from a lot of aspects, and that's kind of being seen through their negotiations with restricted free agent guard Josh Giddey at the moment. This organization never fails to kind of make you scratch your head on why things can never go smoothly when it comes to a negotiating standpoint of why can't they get things right. I mean, dating all the way back to the Pat Williams deal. So it's really frustrating as a Bulls fan. However, the team appears to be pivoting towards a younger angle overall, with Modest Buzelis showing flashes towards the end of this past season, and then obviously had a very strong summer league, and then obviously adding Noah Sangay in the draft, another very young prospect there and a player who I think has a bright future in the league. It will take some time, however, for him to get acclimated, so the Bulls are definitely pushing towards youth there. Therefore, with that notion, I think it kind of leaves Nikola Vucevic as the odd man out, even though it is widely expected he's going to start this next season with the Bulls and on their roster and as a starter in this lineup. However, you just look at this team and how young they've gotten. Nikola Vucevic doesn't necessarily fit those plans. So in this trade idea, let's get down to it. The Lakers receive Vucevic, and the Bulls in return would receive veterans Gabe Vincent, Maxi Kleber, a 2028 first swap rights with the Lakers. This would be a top 5 protected. Looking at this deal overall, the Bulls still get, they get off the expiring contract of Vucevic there, but also get an interesting swap with the Lakers in 2028. That's the kicker and the key for the Bulls is that swap there. With Luka in LA, however, it's unlikely it would become a top 10 pick with how the Lakers are expected to contend and compete in the Western Conference with LeBron and Luka. But even if it's a few spots higher, if the swap conveys, that could be a win. So as long as it conveys, I think you would definitely have some value there if you're Chicago. It definitely is a roll of the dice, however, and I kind of wanted to dive into some more analysis on a Vucevic trade to LA. For this to become useful, you're basically banking on either one of two things here. And this is from an overall non-biased perspective here. You're banking on either one, the Bulls taking a significant leap forward by the year 2028, or two, the Lakers having injury trouble that season. The far more likely outcome, obviously, is that the Lakers remain better than Chicago and the swap goes unused. So this is a bit of an interesting scenario, given that it's more likely that the Lakers benefit from this in the long run. As for Kleber and the Gabe Vincent, those additions would simply be included to make the money work in a deal like that. So both of those guys are on expiring deals. I can't imagine Chicago would have any luck flipping them again for any assets, given where those guys are in their careers there. This means you're essentially moving Vooch for a first-round pick swap from a team with a decently bright future. So that may not even convey. But that was an interesting trade scenario I saw first put together by Sports Illustrated there. So I wanted to get that to you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think there is some worth there for that deal to get done? Do you think it's worth the Bulls rolling the dice on that moving forward there? So I wanted to switch gears, talk about a guy who is in the national news in a big way here, Malik Beasley. He is off the federal government's kind of radar here in terms of the gambling stuff. So this kind of brings up the question, should the Bulls consider signing Beasley? He's set to hit free agency here. He's a guy who could be an interesting target for Chicago, a guy who the Bulls are obviously looking to bring in talent to get this roster in a better spot moving into the season. The teams that could offer Malik Beasley, and this is kind of looking at the financials here, the teams that could offer him more than the $7.2 million that Detroit can offer him, there's a list here, and the Bulls are pretty high up on that. Brooklyn leads the way with $15 million in cap space. So, obviously Brooklyn Nets, I talked about them surrounding the draft there and making any move, and then free agency, but they had a heck of a draft, brought in a lot of young talent. Brooklyn leads the way at $15 million cap space, followed up by none other than the Charlotte Hornets and the Chicago Bulls at $14.1 million to spend. So the Bulls and the Hornets could be big players on him as well. I have to think after such a solid season in Detroit a year ago that Beasley's going to want to contend if he goes to another Eastern Conference team there. Chicago could be an interesting place, though. Brooklyn is still very young, kind of looking to find their footing with all the young talent around. The Bulls being in the play-in tournament the last couple of years, he could see them as an opportunity to win a little bit. So that'll be interesting. Some other teams on that list, you got the Indiana Pacers at $13.5 million to spend. The Miami Heat and the Thunder, a little lower on the list with money to spend at $7.3 million for Miami and $8.5 million for the Thunder. And then rounding the list out, the Sacramento Kings at $7.3 million as well. So we'll see what happens there. Miami's certainly an interesting Eastern Conference team. I think he would make the Indiana Pacers a lot better as well. He's got some capability there. So when you look at the Bulls overall, though, they're a team who have been in need of more talent, and this is why I think this would work. While there does not appear to be any reported interest with the Chicago Bulls in Beasley's camp, the Bulls have the ability to offer him more than most teams can at this point in free agency, other than Brooklyn. But I'm not sure Brooklyn makes a play on him, to be honest with you. When you look at Beasley as a player, he finished last season very solid with he averaged 16.3 points a game to go along with shooting 43% from the field and 41.5% from three in 82 games played there. So he's a very durable guy. He plays a lot of ball and he stays on the floor for you. And that's a guy that Billy Donovan would love, I think. So before the Pistons, Beasley spent the 2023-24 season playing for the Milwaukee Bucks there, was a very solid player for them as well. So I just think overall, I think Malik Beasley's an interesting target, given I did not personally expect him to kind of shed the federal investigation there this soon. It's very surprising to me, and I'm sure to many others. But we'll see what happens with Malik. I think the Bulls could be on his radar. We'll see what happens with Chicago and their interest and kind of how the Josh Giddey situation plays out. Obviously, you have guys like Kobe White and Ayo Dosunmu, kind of freed up after this season coming up here. So it could offer an opportunity to kind of solidify that position if you're Chicago bringing in Malik Beasley. So overall, I wanted to end today's show with just kind of a Bulls outlook overall. As an organization, as we sit here on August 25th, we're so close to the NBA season kicking off. We're almost there. We're going to get there in no time. It's going to go quick, and I'm certainly excited for it. However, when you look at this Bulls team, there's a lot of question marks at this point in the offseason. Obviously, the most glaring one being what's going to happen with Josh Giddey. Is this restricted free agent going to get a deal done by the end of this week? I find that hard to believe. I predicted it would get done by the end of August here. He's a guy I think you have to bring back if you're Chicago. And if he signs that 1 year qualifying offer, that's a kind of a major hit for Chicago, because now you risk him walking next year for nothing. I think you get no further value out of a guy who brought a ton of excitement and a ton of production to a Bulls roster a year ago. And when you add that to the looming questions of Ayo Dosunmu and Kobe White coming up, I think it's very unlikely you're going to see both guys stick around. You got Nikola Vucevic probably parting ways with Chicago by February, depending on how things go here. So there's a lot of eyebrows being raised here with this Bulls organization at the moment. So we'll see what happens. I'm trying to stay optimistic here with this Bulls team. Again, win total sitting at 32.5. So I do think if a lot of these players stick around for the first half of this season, you're going to see the Bulls win some ball games in an Eastern Conference that is wide open. So it should be interesting to see how things continue to develop for this organization. The Bulls continue to keep you on your toes, though, as a Bulls fan. You just never know what they're going to pull off or what they're going to do. One would hope that they're going to get a Giddey deal done. Things have kind of taken way too long here for Bulls fans' comforts there. So overall, I wanted to get this show out there to start the week with you guys today. I want to thank you guys for joining me for another episode of Bulls Latest. If you guys could hit that like and subscribe button, goes a long way for the channel. It would really be appreciated by me. And then, as always, I will see you guys tomorrow for another show, and you guys have a great rest of your Monday.